From We Run With You, I'm Kathy Witten.
And I'm Rob Alvarez. Welcome to Season 3 of Doing Good. In this episode, we talk with Danielle Brown.
Danielle is a mom, hiker, and now runner whose life changed after surviving a ruptured brain aneurysm. When we asked her, "Are you running away from something or towards something?" her answer reminded us that healing isn't always one or the other. Sometimes we're running from the fears of yesterday while finding the strength to become a better version of ourselves. Join us for an honest conversation about finding your footing after life's biggest challenges and learning to keep moving forward one step at a time. Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much for joining us today on Doing Good. I am so happy that we can finally meet in person almost, considering you're from Washington State and we're on opposite ends of the coast. So this is really cool. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and let's get into it.
All right.
Let's
Thanks
learn
for
about
having
you.
me.
So I'll just jump right into it. Can you tell us how you found out you had a brain aneurysm?
Yeah. It's kind of a long story. Long story short, I started to have symptoms probably 6 years ago that I can kind of
Oh, wow.
pinpoint, but I was like working full time in nursing school, or my prereqs for nursing, and so I noticed that my left pupil was just slightly larger and a little sluggish. I kind of
Hmm.
chalked it up to being that I just wasn't sleeping much, and
Mm-hmm.
I work in
Yeah.
ophthalmology, so I kind of
Oh,
made
really?
up a lot of things for myself to ignore it for a
Mm.
little
Oh,
bit.
wow.
And then I started noticing I'd have trouble focusing at distance if I was driving and it would open up. I couldn't look at the horizon. My eyes would keep being pulled down. And then I found out I was pregnant and went through all that, and I started having some other very strange vision changes where I would just have like leopard spots in my vision just sitting.
Mm.
So again, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring this up to my boss because none of this makes sense for what I know of to be
Mm.
true in ophthalmology.
Hmm.
And so I brought it up to him. We did some photos and some scans, couldn't figure out. He's like, everything looks good. And I was like, okay, well, we just ignore it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
how
then,
long was this? And how long ago is this?
so this would be, um, I would say 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
Um, I had my son, and then I had found out that I have celiac disease, and it was exacerbated by pregnancy and
Mm.
the shift in
Mm.
hormones. So I had a lot of neurological issues with that. And then I started having more issues with driving. It was last or in 2024, I'd have worse issues with seeing at a distance. I started seeing like missing spots in my vision that weren't missing, but they were um, like I'd be nursing my son in the dark and I'd look at the blinds, and you know how blinds are
Mm.
straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would see distortion. It would look like drops of rain were like on the blind. So
Mm.
I'm checking each eye and I'm like, oh, this isn't good because I can see it in both eyes, and that
Mm.
tells me it's either something in my brain or I'm having there's other diagnoses that can kind of mimic that with lots of stress and stuff that can cause fluid to develop within the retina that can cause missing spots of vision. So I had that in my head and I checked my scans again and I didn't see anything.
Mm.
So I go on a road trip, and the whole time I'm driving there with my giant truck and camper, like it's not a good time to have vision issues. Um, I was like, something just is off. Like I cannot figure out what it is. I get to my destination, spend the weekend there. On my way home, I couldn't I couldn't drive on the freeway. And I had to
Mm.
basically drive, stop at an exit, drive, stop,
Oh,
because
wow.
everything had shifted. So my left
Oh my
eye, I had
gosh.
an angle, like everything's at an angle. So this side is
Oh
moving so
wow.
much faster in a different angle than this side. And so I had to cover my eye.
That's
It was just
crazy.
yeah, it was.
I'd be freaking out and be like, "Oh, Rob, could you come pick me up?"
And that's so I was actually avoiding calling my husband because I was like, he already worries about me,
Oh.
you know, anyways. And so I was like, I just gotta get to this section past the pass and I can do all the back roads. I can be off of the freeway. And I did, and I get home and I finally tell him. But at that point I was like, okay, I have to be more proactive. Like I can't just keep putting it off. So I went in, I
Mm-hmm.
said, hey, I need an MRI. And they said,
Mm.
well, it was like I got pushback for it, and I was like, "Hey, I'm
Uh,
I'm just what if I just pay for it? Like I'll pay right now. Like let's
Oh,
make this
mm,
happen."
wow.
And so I got my MRI and I had a lot of vertigo. So if you moved me too fast, I was like, "Oh
mm,
no, the world is spinning." It
mm.
was just another symptom I had. So um, they do the MRI and they found it to their surprise,
Oh
compressing my
wow.
optic nerve. And so I called UW, and before my doctor even reviewed it, I had an appointment with the chief of neurological surgery at
Mm-hmm.
UW and um, had a scheduled CT and then a cerebroangiogram and then had a plan for treatment. So
Wow. So how I know Rob's probably going to go here. So when was this? When you were insistent and said, "Hey, I want an MRI. I'll pay for it." When did that happen?
it was in October of 2024.
Okay. All right.
So you were
Yeah.
like kind of living with this for like years?
Mm.
And you,
Yeah, and
wow.
if I wasn't driving or I really did, if I'm busy enough and I'm not in a dark room with different, like I could ignore it. Your brain does a really
Mm.
Oh
good job of
wow.
ignoring things.
Uh,
And
yeah, I
so
guess you're
I would
kind of
forget.
adapting. You're adapting
hmm
to that circumstance. So did you get any have any headaches or anything
Yeah.
like that?
I did start having headaches. So within a few months of that time, I was getting really bad headaches and nausea. And in June, right before that, I had a hypertensive crisis out of nowhere. And I've had these issues. I have heart disease and I have some other things that trigger atrial fibrillation and sometimes high blood pressure.
Mm.
Most of the time, my blood pressure is really low. So it wasn't a thing that they medicated me for. But my blood pressure was 180 over 110 when I went to the
Mm.
ER, and that could have been it,
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, just with that pressure. And so I would just have a lot of dizziness and nausea just from visually my eyes being different, whatever was
Mm.
different between them, which is really hard having a 2-year-old and
Yeah.
a 1-year-old, and yeah, it was definitely um,
Yeah,
I-
it's
there was
interesting how like the symptoms can be so varied when it comes to aneurysm. I think we've met survivors that had like double visions
mm-hmm.
or but like slanted vision or like that's crazy.
Yeah, especially if it's compressing the optic nerve, because when there is optic nerve atrophy, it can change your astigmatism. So that part of your lens can change. The distance from the front of the eye to the back of the eye changes. If it's dramatic enough from your right eye, it can be really disorienting to have that difference. And that was kind of my experience, but I didn't know it at the time.
Mm.
I think it had just so my aneurysm wasn't like a typical shape. It was 4 millimeters wide and tall, but it had two other lobes off of it and
Mm.
then a
Mm.
daughter sac. So it
Oh
was a
wow.
very weird shape, um, which was at more risk of rupturing. Uh, and so, yeah, it was just kind of a
So
whirlwind after.
Yeah.
and then so but I like by that point you were pretty at high risk of a rupture, right?
Mm-hmm.
hmm
So, wow, like for you to like finally, I don't know, maybe the vision symptoms got bad enough, but like for you to finally take that take that step of saying, "Hey, get me checked," was very important.
Yeah.
Or else, I think you would have probably collapsed at any time or had a rupture.
Yeah, and I was doing things that I, in retrospect, was like, oh, it could have happened then. I took my son backpacking a
Mm.
lot. We would be up in the mountains, 2 hours
Oh
from
wow!
town,
Oh my
alpine
gosh!
setting, logging road for an hour to get up to spots. And so I'm carrying him on my back a lot of the times. And I did a through hike of the Enchantments outside of Leavenworth. It's a roughly 18 to 22 to 25 mile. You have to do it in a day. You can't stay overnight. So
Mm.
Oh
I'm
wow!
doing some kind of
20 something
You
things
are
miles in
where,
so
one
cool.
day.
I didn't know
yeah.
this part. I was like, I was telling Rob, I was like, yeah, I know she's like really, she really likes hiking. I didn't know it was to this extent. That's really rad. But what I also wanted to ask you is, with your background in, being in ophthalmology, do you feel like that was something that allowed you to be more aware and to probe more, especially with the vision that you were having, which eventually led to, you wanting to get more diagnosis?
I think that when you have experience in a field, you can either be very like, oh, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me, or you're like, some doctors don't take their own advice and they'll
Mm,
ignore the situation. And that is kind of how it was for me because I was so busy. So I just was like, oh, I need to sleep more. I'm sleeping like 4 hours a
mm,
night. Like, I need more sleep.
Mm,
I need more of this. I need to eat healthier, you know? But I think after having my son and stuff, I was like, okay, these things are, you know, if I'm doing my scans and my pictures and everything looks good, there's something in my brain and that
mm,
could be worse. You don't know what it could be, but I know that with the progression of symptoms, it was something, excuse me, I had
yeah.
to find information
Mm-hmm.
on it because it's very scary to think about when you have a kid. It's just so different than when
Yeah.
I was like, I was like just 30 and I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'll be up in the mountains, like come back and do a test. I go to work for 12 hours.
Yeah.
So very
so
different.
when you were told we need to operate or do take care of this as soon as possible, what were you thinking or what?
Yeah. How did the family take the news?
Um, it was very, very hard because any person that you talk to about this, if you talk to a nurse or whatever, they say, "Oh yeah, my uncle just dropped dead in a store."
Hmm.
Like they'll just give you these really scary
Mm-hmm.
scenarios and stuff. And that was my thought is, okay, I got to stop biking with Owen. I can't take him on any hikes outside of town. I
Mm-hmm.
really had to just rethink how I was living my life because I would do things that they're not dangerous. They're just, there's more risk involved.
Mm.
And my husband, he's been through a lot with me. I've been in atrial fibrillation and I've had to be shocked back into a normal rhythm. Like he watched them do it to me.
Oh
So
wow!
he's already going through all those thoughts in his head of what could happen. And I swear I'm like trying to sleep and I wake up and he's just staring at me. Like there's just a lot of fear of losing your
Yeah.
partner, a lot of hard conversations.
Mm.
Uh, um, you know, what could happen between the time of finding out and the time of surgery. What do we want Owen's life to look like if I'm not here? How
Mm.
do we want him to be raised? Just really hard questions. What do
Mm.
I want in the event that something happens before surgery or during surgery? So we really had to like get into these really uncomfortable moments together. And
Hmm.
that helps you grow as a couple. It makes you really strong, but also it's really hard in that time. It's like
Yeah.
very, very hard. And I mean, it was just a really dark cloud over us for the next like 2 months as I'm waiting for this test and this test. And um, when I think about it, it still makes me feel a little sad. I might cry, I might not, um, but we have an amazing support system.
Mm,
I had to have a cerebral angiogram. Never had one of those.
Mhm.
I expressed my concern of what we were going to do with Owen because we have to travel to Seattle. And my
mm,
mother-in-law and my sister-in-law just say, we're there. Don't worry about
yeah.
it. We've got this. Like people just doing things with no, I didn't even ask them. They're just available. You don't have
Hmm.
to direct them. They say, we've got it handled. We brought this. We did this.
Yeah.
It was very, very helpful to have that with ease. Helped it helped us move through it with a little more ease to know that we were taken care of by everybody.
Yeah, I think that's so important because if when someone just jumps in and says, "Hey, you take care of what you need to take care of," it does take a huge load off of your shoulders. Fortunately, in my situation, we were out in California. I'm originally from California. All my whole family was there, even though Rob had to make the difficult decisions. Well, unfortunately, fortunately for me, I guess I was unconscious the whole time, so I didn't know what was going on. But, I was so happy to hear that, my family was, just right there, just stepping in without any hesitation. And that's so important,
Yeah.
not only for, I'm sure for your husband, for you too, so that, I mean, there's already that stress of the unknown already having those hard conversations and then to have to think like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with Owen, correct?
Mhm.
It's just another level of stress that you don't need to have going into, major surgery. So that's comforting to know that you had that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the day, Kathy went into the hospital, her one of her nieces actually, who lives in Seattle or near Seattle, also she was like she was on they're on their way back. They were flying that day and canceled. She's like, I'm not getting on that plane.
Yeah.
I'm going
They
to
dropped
stay.
everything
So,
and then just
and she
stayed.
stayed
Yeah.
and kind of that was a big help for me, for her to stay for at least that first week plus. So yeah, support systems are definitely very important. Um, I guess fast forward to I guess after the surgery, what do you remember after waking up?
I was in a lot of pain. Um, so all this visual stuff happening and it being from my nerve, basically the aneurysm was like pushing up against my nerve over time.
Mm.
And so they really had to pack around my optic nerve and protect it during surgery. And it's very painful. Like nerve, like neuritis, like it's very painful. So I just remember waking up to my dad crying. And
Mm.
because everyone was in the room with me, that like my family had come in, and mind you, I had my stepdad, like there were so many family members that people were like, what an interesting mix of people that are just here together. My
Yeah.
biological father, my two stepdads, like my in-laws. But I just remember my dad crying, and I hearing my mom say, "It's so bad," and
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, oh no. Because they told us like it would be like a little incision behind my ear, like it wouldn't be that big. And then they also it's like, of course, a giant scar and staples, and they had
Mm.
taken a portion of my cheek and my brow out as well. And
Oh wow.
so I'm completely swollen.
Oh
And
wow.
so everyone was really surprised with how I look. And then I didn't want to look at myself, so I didn't for 4 days. I
Oh,
didn't look
okay.
in any mirrors. But I was in a lot of pain and just really happy that I woke up. because there's always that fear. I didn't get to tell you, but during my cerebral angiogram, the hub wasn't connected, so I didn't get any of the calming medicine. I didn't get any of my important clotting medication. So I did the whole angiogram like completely just laying there,
Oh,
hoping I
right.
could
Wait.
get through
Yeah,
it.
because they
Oh,
don't. Yeah, because I think
Jesus.
don't they put you're out, right?
I was out.
Yeah.
My
Not
oh my
me.
I had several
Oh my God.
angiogram and I was out. Well, obviously the surgery I was in a coma. I was out, but
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. You're
that is
up for
that's like
that?
the worst nightmare, right?
Yeah,
When
and I
you
was
watch like
telling them, yeah, I was like, like they say you're supposed to just have feel good meds, you're gonna be really kind of like out of it. But I mean, I could count the seconds between when they would inject dye, go behind, or they would go behind the wall, inject dye. I would see the visuals, and then I
Oh
would be
my
super
gosh.
sick and super hot. And eventually, I passed out with the biggest dose, and I woke back up with a jump, and it kind of scared everybody. They came running in because my vitals kind of just went whoop-dee. Um, and yeah, I get back to recovery, and she uncovers me, and all of the meds were completely like soaking me under. And so I had to have a kind of an emergency dose of my clotting medications.
Oh my
So when I
gosh.
went in for surgery, I was so scared because that had happened, and they're wheeling me back, and they get me back, and the nurse is getting me ready, and she's about to like give me a mask, and I say, "Hey, I just need to say something." And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And I said, "I'm really scared right now." And she's like, "This is scary, but we got you." And then I
mm,
woke up.
Hmm.
So
okay,
Oh.
good. God.
But I think
but
it's okay. Sometimes we want to try to be brave or for
Mm,
everybody else around us, but it's okay. I think to kind of share that moment with
yeah.
your care team to say, hey,
Yeah, and then for your care team to
I'm
say, we
scared.
got you. Gosh, I'm sure that meant a lot to you because who wouldn't be scared? I think. See, I always say that what happened to me, I guess I'm lucky in the sense that how it happened to me was the entire time I was out. I don't remember anything. And for those of you who go in knowing, okay, I have a scheduled date for surgery, and then you're like 3, 2, 1, I'm gonna be put under. It's just I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom how any of you would be able to overcome that. I mean, when I had my angiogram when we came back here, I was already. I mean, I knew what was going to happen. I knew the risk was very low, but still, I just couldn't. The last thing I wanted was to be able to, like what you described was whatever surgery or whatever procedure, and I'm still like awake and aware, and you can't say any that would. I don't know if I would have. You're brave because I would have been like, nope, not doing it. It's just too much. But wow.
And it
Okay.
so if I'm understanding your story correctly, also you were in the hospital for only 4 days. Is that true?
mhm.
Hmm.
Seems
Yeah.
a very short period
Yeah.
of time. Like they said, oh, you're in a few days. From what you described, what they did, and they're like, okay, you're good to go.
They actually kept me on extra day. And
Oh
so
wow,
it was like three
really?
days. They're like, as long as you're good to get out of here. Um, I have like some complications as far as I have a clotting disorder, so I'm on medication before surgery that I do, and pre-op I'm on medication the whole time. During, I had to do infusions for a week outside of the hospital. My husband actually had to
Oh
do it, so
wow.
he had to mix
Oh
my
my
meds
gosh.
and inject them for me. And so, with the extra pain that I was in, and just making sure that I didn't have any bleeding after, they just kept me for 4 days, which is a little bit longer than normal. Um, but Everything was good. I mean, once I started realizing like, oh, I can walk, I'm like,
Mm,
I'm okay. This hurts, but
mm,
Hmm.
everything else is okay. Um,
Wow.
I started walking, and I probably should have taken it a little bit slower, but it was
mm,
Hmm.
like, so when I hear your story and you mentioned you're asleep, you're in a, you're not in what everyone else is, dealing with at the moment. But I had lists of plans of like, okay, my expectation before I worked out, I was already working out, but I worked out every day before surgery, from when I
Hmm.
found out to
mm,
surgery date. My surgeon said, "Don't let this change your life.
mm,
Do what makes you happy. Continue being strong in your body." So I did. Like that was something I had control over. I made lists. Okay, expectations. 1 to 2 weeks after surgery, walk a half of a mile. 2 weeks, walk 2 miles. Like I had this plan, and when I
mm.
realized, like, oh, I can do these things. Um, but also your body isn't ready. I was
Yeah.
2 weeks in and I told Derek I really needed to get out of the house. Let's go to the store. And I couldn't walk that fast. And I ended up it was just so overstimulating
Yeah.
that he
Hmm.
just tucked me in a corner at the store. And I looked like I had been assaulted because I
I don't mean to laugh, but no.
it was, and like my husband is the kindest, most gentle, caring person, but he kind
Mm.
of looks like he would fight you. Like he does have this like look about him. So we got a lot of interesting looks, but he's just like, I was like kind of really unbalanced and he just tucks me in the corner and he gets what he needs and he comes back and he moves me to the next spot. But I got out of the house and then I realized, okay, I still am not ready for these things. So
Yeah.
we redo the plan. Now it
Yeah.
looks like I don't go to the store, just
Yeah.
just finding my rhythm and healing.
Yeah. I'm impressed that you actually, well, first of all, I love that your surgeon says, continue doing what you love. That's shout out to him for even suggesting that. But I wouldn't even think about putting, I mean, maybe I would have, but for you to make a plan and try to accomplish those, that's amazing. But I think for me, it just took me back to, that I remember the first time I got out of the hospital. I wanted some real good, taco or some really good, like not like just anything that they don't serve you at the hospital, right? Would be wonderful. But I just felt like there were days when I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I there's no way anyone would have known that I had brain surgery other than the fact that my head was shaved and I had a band-aid and staples behind my head. But isn't it crazy how like we just feel like so powerful one day and like, we can conquer the world and then the next day you're just like, oh my god, you're completely wiped out. You're just like, I don't even know how I can walk to the bathroom or even crawl to the bathroom, right? For me. But it's just, isn't it amazing how our body works? It's like it tells you exactly. It's like, nope, you have to slow down. You have to make sure take your meds, take it easy. But I think maybe perhaps perhaps you and I are similar in the fact that, we're kind of like go, go, go. We like to, get things done and accomplish things. Um, but yeah, it's just crazy how the brain works, the body works. But yeah, it'll tell you when it needs to reset and for you to just slow down. Now, what I want to know is you had mentioned you like hiking. Well, you more than like hiking. You're like a big adventurer. When did because I'm all about the running part. When did you when did you start it running? Was it after your aneurysm? Yeah? And
Yeah.
and what
Yes.
inspired that?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, why? A lot of.
So I've always thought about it. I've always thought about it, and I would do weekly walks with friends. So I would meet one friend, we'd do like 5 miles of walking. I'd meet another friend, we'd do 5 miles of walking. I did a lot of walking, and I was like, and we do hikes. And I'm like, we hike at like a 17-minute mile. Like, that's pretty fast. Like, what
That
if
is
we just
fast.
kind of like picked up the pace? What if we just leaned forward and ran? And all of my friends are like, absolutely not. Nobody wanted to run with me. And so I just never did it. It was just like, I want
Mm,
to be with people. So whatever they want to do.
yeah.
And after I had surgery, um, I couldn't really lift weights. The pressure in my face and stuff, it was just too hard. I did a like a bar workout and I felt so good doing it. And the next day, just the headache and the
Mm,
pressure and my eye pain was so bad. I was like, okay, something's gonna be different.
mm.
I'm gonna be walking. What if I just try running? And at that point, I had fostered a puppy because I'm crazy. I'm 3 months
Oh my God.
outside of
You
brain
you
surgery.
are
Why do I get a
crazy.
puppy?
And isn't your child like 2 years old?
He just turned 3 right after that.
Well, for us, it was terrible threes. It wasn't terrible twos. It was terrible threes. So, my goodness, Danielle, what were
We're
you
lucky
thinking?
with this kid. I don't know. She's right here. She's checking on me.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I was a foster fail because well, she's my girl.
Oh,
Um, but I started kind of like seeing if I could run,
mm.
and I would be taking her on a walk, and we would just run for like a minute, and I was like, this is easier than I remember in high school. There, you couldn't catch me running, like I was like, absolutely not. This is too hard. But I kind of was like, okay, what if I give myself a challenge? The challenge is, why don't I sign up for a 10K? There's a 10K. I started this in June. I started running in June, or maybe a little bit before that. But
Okay, you know
I
she's an
challenged myself.
overachiever. She doesn't even go for a 5K. She's like 10K.
You know,
Jeez. Show
when
off.
you've walked when you've walked 20 or 18 miles in one day with
Oh, true, true,
what,
true, true.
I'm like,
3 miles is too short.
easy. And so what I didn't, I guess I didn't get to explain is I had surgery in January. My husband, I was trying to make him get out and take care of himself. He was doing a mountain bike race,
Mm.
broke his
Mm.
tibial plateau, shattered it.
Oh my God.
So I'm just, that's in May, early May. I'm still fresh out of brain surgery. I just had to be okay. So
Mm.
this choosing to run was going to be my therapy for myself during
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
this hard
Mm.
time. And so I kind of told a friend I was like, "Do you want to do this with me?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "Okay." And then she decided, she's like, "You know what? She has a 2-year-old. We're both in this stage of life where we just need a little self-care."
Mm.
Mhm.
So we started running together. But the first time I ever ran, like for real, I said, I'm gonna go run a 5K and see how long it takes me so I can kind of understand what I'm looking at here.
Mm.
I don't know anything about
Mhm.
running. I went out and I just ran 4 miles. Just it just was easy. I was like,
Mm.
oh, this feels good. This is like my body like really needs this. And I wasn't
Yeah,
fast, but I consistently moved for 4 miles. And I then it was like 45 minutes, I think.
that's
And
awesome.
then I blame the heavy hiking pack and carrying my son to give me this advantage in running.
Mhm.
Ah,
Because,
okay.
when you are doing hills with, 30 pounds on your
You had a
back.
great base. You had a great
Yes.
foundation to be and talk about strength too. That helps.
2 days later,
Amazing.
I did a 10K. I just ran a 10K, and I said, okay, maybe I should do, maybe I should aim a little higher. So my friend was gonna do this 10K with me, and I said, what if I did the half marathon? And she's like, absolutely. And we still trained together
Mm.
and supported each other through that. But yeah, I found running like so good feeling.
Mm.
I never realized it could be like that. People give it a bad rap sometimes. Like,
They do. And I'm so glad you said that. Especially coming from a non-runner to one that just, it just kind of naturally, organically happened for you. But yeah, running gets really a bad rap. And I think it's because either people think like you have to be fast to run. And really, I mean, you know, you don't have to be fast. I think that's what I love about running is that, you can run it slow, you can run it fast, you can run it however you want to run it. You can walk, jog, whatever it is. But, just like you, I love it in the sense where it's just time to yourself. It clears your mind and, whatever was on your mind or you were stressing about, for some reason, for me at least, I find so much clarity after a run. I find that, a lot of people who are, are avid runners, it's funny how like their better half are always like, "Have you ran yet? Because you're a little, you have a you have a
100%.
little attitude. Can you just go?"
And
So
then you come back and you're like, and
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like, there it is.
there, yep, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you run your first half marathon last year? Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
ran
was
in September.
brain
So,
In
aneurysm awareness month too.
Yeah. That's when so I didn't really share anything publicly, like
Mm,
to my social media about anything I went through. Just like people at work, friends, like people within the circle knew about it. Because I don't like love attention on myself, and
mm,
it just didn't seem right. But after I ran the half, I was like, this is big for me. You know, like I wanted to share that like this has been a very hard year and I set
mm,
this goal and I did it and I beat the time that I expected it to beat,
mm-hmm.
and I was feeling really proud of it. And so then I did post that it was, you know, brain
yeah,
aneurysm awareness month and that this is what I did and I feel really good about it.
Yeah.
So,
And if I recall, I had followed you by then. I think we had connected in June and we had, clearly I remember you taking on this half marathon and you did share and I'm sure everyone if I remember everyone was just like pretty blown away. They're like, "What? You had a brain
mhm.
aneurysm and now you're running a half marathon?" And for me, I think that's why I don't know. I think people who do hard things, that's what I that was our motto last year and it continues to be our motto is, people, us just doing hard things, overcoming, our challenges. But I think it's so necessary for you to share because you never know what someone is going through out there. And for them to, I don't know if your account is public or not, but, and I'm sure within your own circle, just them knowing that, my God, she had this huge crisis and for some reason you still managed to be a mom, continuing to do what you love and then take on this hard challenge. And even then, beating your own expected time goal. And I think that says a lot. That's, it shows such resilience and triumph. And, and I think for me, that's why I love connecting with with these survivors or individuals because, you know, not only does it inspire me, but it's like I said, it's so necessary for other people to hear, what we're capable of doing.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think
And
that's
Oh,
I was just gonna ask what if there was anything mentally you struggle with, like, or how did you process the whole experience? Because a lot of survivors do struggle, like on the just kind of the emotional or mental side of having going through a brain aneurysm, or and uh, and they manifest themselves in different ways, and sometimes you don't realize it till like months later. I was really, struggling to kind of accept this change or this thing that I went through. Did you go through any of that?
Yeah, I am still going through a lot of things, but so before I found out about all this, I had this feeling of impending doom, and it was like
Hmm.
for a while, and it was just this really scary feeling within my body. And then finding out about it, I was like, oh, like maybe my body was telling me something. Like I felt
Hmm.
relief, but then I had a lot of fear that had developed in that time frame of finding out and having surgery. And then having surgery, that fear kind of tripled. Fear of being alone, fear of being away from my husband because he's like such a security net. Like he is the person that like if anything happens, like he is there in an instant. Like he'll drive a
Hmm.
sidewalk to get to me. So I've noticed like I've had this fear of being alone, small spaces, just like a lot of
Hmm.
things have come up that I don't know if it's just processing over time and having more independence. Running gave me independence to go on trails that are, you know, 5 miles into the mountain, or not exactly the mountains, I guess hills here.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, and having Junie with me actually really gives me a lot of confidence because I'm not alone. If something happens, I'm not alone, and she will be near me, And so I'm
Hmm.
I'm trying to really I have a girls trip coming up and I'm like I can't drive there. Somebody has to drive me there. And then if they drive me there, what if something happens to me and Derek is 3 hours away from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really trying to approach these things as they come and process them as they come. But just a lot of new fears that I never had. I used to pack my dogs in a car, tell Derek, hey, I'm gonna go meet 14 girls in a cabin in the woods that I've never met before. We're gonna
Mm.
be there hiking and making food. And he's like, okay, have fun. And I just go meet strangers,
Yeah.
do stuff. And I would do road trips by myself to like Idaho and Oregon. And I was just very confident in
Mm.
myself. And now I'm really struggling with insecurities and fear of like being alone if something happens. And that's hard for someone who's always been very capable
Yeah.
and
And
um
independent, free,
yeah.
spontaneous. Yeah. I, yeah. I can only, well, I guess I can understand to a degree. I remember, once I was able to realize, okay, I can run now comfortably. Like I am a person that does not carry a phone. I hate carrying anything. And I think for me, it was just like, all right, I'm just gonna go run in the yeah. And sometimes I think at that time, sometimes I did run the trails, and and that's the scary thing is with the trails, it's usually there's no detour, like when you're running on the road, if you need help, you can maybe go to someone's residence or whatever. But I think for me, it was more like I don't know, maybe it was a bit of stubbornness and just that fight to just not be beholden by the fear of like,
Mhm.
okay, something is going to happen. What if this happened? I don't know, perhaps I'm a little different in the sense where I'm like, no, nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to continue doing what I've done. Yeah, thinking back, it's probably wasn't as the
I
best
think,
thing to do because Rob was like, oh my gosh, where is she? I always would tell him, and I'm like, all right, if I don't, if I'm not back in like an hour, go find me. But
well, I think after something like that,
yeah.
there's always that, uh, you know, second guessing, or,
Mm.
you know, am I going to overdo this, or the what can happen, or what if the what can happen. Even, yeah, I was like feeling the same way too. It's like, but then like over time, you kind of, as you push yourself little by little, kind of out there, or going back to doing what you used to do and be, that independent. Um, eventually it just gets, I think, easier and easier, and it does
Mhm.
just take time.
I think
Um,
that's the biggest thing is time and giving myself um the allowance to do it, or like allowing myself to be uncomfortable,
Mm,
and being comfortable with that. It's just the initial, I think, getting into it. I think about it way more before I actually do the things, and then I'm doing it and I'm like, oh, this isn't as scary as I
mhm,
thought. And just processing what this experience has been like to kind of change me as a person too, and being okay with like this new person that I am,
mm,
and just kind of seeing how she grows. And we always water ourselves and try to um, get enough fuel and just see what happens. There's so many different phases of growth that I might be a little bit like a stubbly plant right now, but we'll clip a couple of things and give myself opportunity to grow some
I
more,
love that analogy. We always water ourselves. And yeah, oh my gosh.
And growth isn't
Soap.
linear, so if you're a plant,
Mm-hmm.
you're not just
Yeah.
growing straight up, you're kind of like following the sun, following
Yeah.
what makes
Mm-hmm.
you grow. And so I'm trying to be gentle with myself in that aspect, and I try to talk about it and let myself be vulnerable, because I can be
Mm.
very like, hey, I'm strong. I can get through this. I
Yeah.
can keep pushing away. But also it's not addressing the actual root of how
Mm.
I'm feeling about everything.
Yeah.
I had a really good conversation with my surgeon, who
mm,
said that people who find out they have aneurysms and have to go through these, you're in real time processing grief, even though nothing has happened yet. You haven't had surgery,
mm,
and then oftentimes you're after it and you're still processing everything. And he said, don't, discount yourself and everything
Mm-hmm.
you've accomplished and done. Um, and he's really nice. He's like, be proud of yourself. You did a half marathon. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to just foster myself through this. It's really hard when you work, you have a child and a partner and stuff, to really like get time for yourself, which is why running is
Mm.
same as what you're saying, is it's like time to process. And
Mm-hmm.
when I broke my ankle a couple months ago, and I haven't been running in a couple months, I realized just how important that time
Mm.
was to me to process everything
mhm,
that I have been through and to make me feel strong and confident.
Mm.
I break my ankle and I'm like, oh no, this is like the thing that was helping me feel like I had control is
Mm.
gone. And so it's definitely hard.
that is such a great point.
Yeah.
I had never thought of that. Where even though you've gone through all these different stages from pre-surgery, surgery to recovery, that you still may need to process feelings from before,
Before.
like way back then, that there's so much going on that you've kind of suppressed a little bit, but
Mm.
and you never know when they surface. So wow, that's definitely important to think about. So what would you say are your goals now,
Mm.
or do you have any goals for the near term or even long term?
I'm always full of goals. I like working towards something.
Love it.
I would really like, in the running aspect, like I really want to increase my mileage. Like,
Mm.
I like running on the road, but trails, man, I just love to be surrounded by green. Everyone wants the
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D from the sun. I need that vitamin G from the, forest. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that I need. And so I would love to do a 25K, a 50K race, just increase my mileage. And I'm looking to do potentially some volunteering with a it's called Skookum Kids, and they're a foster care program. And so they have a house that they have kids that come and stay. And I'm hoping I can pick up a night shift occasionally and just kind of like work in volunteering there because I'm not going to have any more children. And I
Mm,
think about kids that just need
Hmm.
a little bit of positivity in a hard time where they're in transition between family and so that's kind of eventually I'd love to be able to foster in my home, like when we
mm,
eventually have a bigger home, but that's kind of on the list. And um, volunteering with search and rescue is also on the list
Oh,
since I almost was a search and rescue find
yeah.
when I broke my ankle on the trail. Uh, and so just a couple of goals like that. I kind of always want to do everything all at once, but I'm giving
mm.
myself a little bit of you can do this over time.
Yeah.
So organizing those goals and seeing kind of where I can go with them.
Yeah. And I think with your attitude and with your, I want to say, perseverance, you will. You will. And I think if perhaps one suggestion I would give to you is yes, continue to have these goals and check them off your list. But, you know, when you do those, when you check off those goals or when you're doing them, you know, take in the moment and say, wow, I'm doing what I set out to do. And I'm just going to embrace that moment or that time that you're achieving your goal. Um, but I just want to say you are one wise and phenomenal human. I know we chat a lot on Instagram, but I never knew that you were at this level of humility and just no, you're pretty amazing. You're very
Oh,
amazing, Danielle.
thank you.
As you keep talking about your goal, I'm like, I swear, I'm seeing a halo over her head because no, it's just everything that you have gone through. Even pre aneurysm. The challenges or medical challenges that you have to overcome, and then on top of that, having this part of your life, and then the juggle of life, and but still, I mean, you're still making time and making sure that you do those important things and that you continue to keep those goals set. I mean, that speaks a lot. So
There is one goal I would like to ask you to add to your goals is to share your story more. I
yeah.
know you'd mentioned you're fairly private. You don't like to talk about yourself, but I think so many people going through those difficult times dealing with an aneurysm or any other similar um, challenges that can definitely take inspiration from
Hmm.
your story and what you're making from the challenge, and also just hearing what you've gone through, that they may be also feeling
Hmm.
the same way. So at the very least, they don't feel alone. So
Hmm.
um,
I
yeah.
definitely want to like this is a big deal for me to sit and talk about it because I think I get nervous about talking about myself. I mean, I think I'm a good person and I live kind of by the motto of like be good, do good. Like
Hmm.
do what you can. You see the little old lady crossing the road, maybe you don't ask if they need help directly, but you're just close just in case. Like give
Hmm.
people independence or support from afar and be available if needed. But I kind of just do that in my life, but I don't really. I want to share more stories. I used to like I would post to friends about experiences with people because I feel like human connection is super important.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
COVID happened and things got really weird in that time. But it's been happening, those moments have been happening more and more lately.
Hmm.
And I feel like even sharing those moments to give people hope and give people good moments to smile about. And then I need to think about my story and that it could do the same for others, being able to share like that life can be really hard sometimes, but
Mm.
we can find strength in ourselves to do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't work, and you readjust the plan and you refigure out your next step and you make a plan and you attempt it again. Like it's not failure, it's just giving you opportunity to be stronger in a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah.
Um, And so, and I've talked to you about it. I even started another Instagram to start sharing my
Mm.
story, but then I
Mm-hmm.
get too nervous and I don't put anything in there. But I'm definitely going to work on that. It's going on the list.
Well, I'm going to say don't be nervous about it. You have nothing to be. I mean, if anything, I would listen. I'll be your first follower. And you're but like I said, you have this ability to share your story in such a way that is really simple but very thoughtful. And I mean, I have learned so much about you today that I could not get, when we're just conversing, in text. So it has been, now this was such a great conversation. I love it. Now, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but what is there another goal this year that you would like to do?
Oh, yes, there is. I would love to do the half marathon in Philly, and I'm
Woohoo!
really
Yay!
that is like something that I think about every day, and I'm like, okay, I need to line some ducks up to feel really secure with traveling. And like
Mm,
I kind of
Mm.
shared some of my fears that I've had, and I
yeah.
have a girlfriend who I asked previously, and she's like, yeah, of course I'd do it. And I took it as like, of course a friend would say that.
Mm.
And then we were just talking, and I said, hey, like, would you really do this? And she says, I'm a girl of my word. And so we're just kind of getting our ducks in a row, looking at
Mm-hmm.
places and just kind of getting it all figured out. But she's
Mm-hmm.
like, and I'll run it with you. So
That's
I think that would be
that's
really cool.
awesome. I love that. I love that friend. What is her name?
Her name's Jess.
Jess. Thank
And
you,
we're
Jess.
we're
I,
we're biased, but like that is the most fun run race that you can do.
Yes.
Philly people are awesome. So um I'll
I,
just put
I
it
think
out there.
it, I think it would be amazing. It's like those are the things that I used to do. I would challenge myself and do these
Mm-hmm.
big things, and I need to find that part of me again. And I feel like this is just a really good opportunity. And I really want to meet you guys. Like, you have been such a light in this darkness of navigating everything. When I found your page and I just like commented on it, like, I just went through a similar thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect anyone to reach out to me. And then getting to know you has just been really great. And you're always supportive and check in on me. And that makes me feel really like special and just good. And so I appreciate that in you. It's like having someone in your corner that you would have expected or anticipated. And so it's helped me a lot in a way that I didn't know. You're not just like a friend in my life who's like, you're fine, you're doing great.
Yeah.
You're someone who's really supporting me in a way that you've been through something. It's not the same, but it's very similar.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate
Well,
that.
thank you. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Like I said, and I've said to many survivors that I've met over the years is that I truly do find inspiration from those that I meet, and just getting to learn a little bit more about them. For us or for me, the Doing Good podcast was on hiatus for about 2 years, and I just kept meeting so many amazing individuals. And when I say amazing, I mean that in the utmost, like the utmost definition of what amazing is that, and I just want to learn more about them. And my goal is always to at least let them know, whoever I speak to, whoever trusts me with your journey, is to really let them know that they're really not alone. And if I can be a voice that is echoing on days that, they're not feeling well, or they're just like, the hope is just kind of like diminished for some reason, I hope to be that person that they can kind of just at least reach out and say, hey, how are you doing, Kathy? And I'm more than willing to try my best to pick you up and get you where you need to be. And again, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege for both Rob and I to not only get to share your story, but to speak to you. And for us, if you were to be able to come out here, and I think you will, and I know you will, it's going to be an absolute electric weekend. A dear friend who is also a survivor said this to me. It's a club that you never thought you wanted to be in, but once you're in it, you're like, this is great. I have people who are really have my back, or they really understand you. Even without saying anything, we get you. And I hope that's what individuals who are part of this community, whether they're family members or survivors, I hope that's what they get from us, is that, we get you. We know what you've been through, and we're just here to, share this journey with you, if you allow us. Yeah.
So we always end our podcast with some rapid fire questions, if you're ready.
Okay.
So now that you're a runner, would you say you're running away from something or towards something?
I think a little bit of both. I
Mm,
think I'm kind of running towards a stronger me.
mm,
But I am kind of running from maybe a little bit of the scaries from before.
Mm.
mm,
But it's almost like good motivation to keep pushing forward to find that better you, because with time, maybe those scaries go away and you're fully running towards a goal. But I think in my situation, I have a little bit of like both.
Yeah.
I'm still new in this journey, and so I needed that motivation behind me to keep pushing
I
myself towards my goal.
think I
Um,
kind of know the answer to the second one. When things or when life gets overwhelming, what do you do to reset?
get outside in any way,
Mm. Uh,
if that makes sense. Go
mm,
yeah.
throw rocks in some water, watch your kid, pick up sticks, watch the dog run through the forest. Just find like joy in those little moments. And like, especially having children, watching them find the magic of the world is like
mm.
so
Mm.
healing for me.
Aw.
And anytime we're having a frustrating day inside, rain or shine, we get
Mm.
out and it's jumping in puddles or finding that childlike wonder again. It helps me reset.
Awesome.
I just want to say something really quick. By the way, I love watching your stories, especially when you put Juno in there and you're like hiking or running. It's like I feel like I'm in that little, like I've been transported to your little playground. So I just want to say thank you. You should post
Yeah,
more on
I
stories. Hey, when the world is a little crazy, I go to Danielle's stories and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, there's Juno, there's the forest, there's her running.
And
It's
that's what
good.
I want. Like I'm very much like if you look like at a lot of my posts, it's very much outside
Yeah.
positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just want like when I'm out there walking and it's like quiet, like I'm not listening to music, I'm just listening to the trees. I'm listening to the wind in the trees. They're kind of creaking. They're, just being out there and watching the dog be silly or just like sniff everything or just the crunch of like leaves under my feet is
Mm.
just very therapeutic. And I mean, it's not a bad way to spend your time either.
Yeah.
No. Where would you say is your quote unquote happy place?
I know.
My happy place? I don't know, just with my family. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're together, it's just
Mm-hmm.
only really having a good time
Yeah.
with
What
occasional tantrums.
what is your advice to someone who may be going through what you've gone through in the past year?
I think in my situation, hearing news that is very unpredictable to what your future can look like, just take a breath, hug your spouse, hug a friend, and do a long hug. Just
Mm.
have a long enough time to just feel safety and support in the moment. Take a breath, make a plan, and you've got this. I
Mm.
Yeah.
mean, that is our mindset is the strongest thing that we
Mm-hmm.
can use to get through a lot of these hard times. And it can challenge us when it's between being scared and sad and positive and moving forward. But being able to recognize that this is hard, but there could be light at the end of the tunnel, and just looking at the people around you, the people that care about you too, because you'll
Yeah.
find strength in that.
Love that. Last one. What is your life motto?
My life model, I say be good, do good.
Mm.
Help help people. You know, I can't tell you how many times I have helped little old ladies in the spice section at the store, the meat section, like spread positivity,
Mm.
be open to discussions with people. I love hiking and I run into the same people hiking, usually older population, and we stop and talk and catch up. And
Uh,
I don't know
Yeah.
anything about them, but we talk about we talk about bears in the area. We talk, like make connections within your community and just do good. I mean, when it comes down to it, with everything else that could be scary in the world, having community is the biggest thing
mm,
and making connections, I think. But
That
definitely
is
agree.
that is beautiful. I could not agree more.
my
Danielle.
husband actually, he said, I'm gonna give you a card and it's gonna have information because I will stop to take family photos of people. If someone is like they're like taking a photo of their family, I'm like, I got you. You want this?
Yeah.
Get in there. My favorite thing on runs is if I'm running and I see people, I will stop to do that
Oh
because
my
I get to breathe for
god.
a second.
I'm the same way. But then sometimes, but so okay, oh my god, I'm the same way. I go for a run and I see people, like taking photos of like it's like a husband and wife and a child, right? And it's usually I see them when I'm up at the reservoir and they're like trying to get, two or three in, and then sometimes I just want to stop and say, do you want me to just take a photo with you? And sometimes I do, but then sometimes I hesitate because nowadays people just like doing selfies.
hmm
Because I've
I always
asked and they're like,
ask.
oh no, we like the selfies. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always ask. One of my favorites was this elderly couple, and the way that man was so happy to be have a picture with his wife, like
Oh,
I was like, this is why I do this, because look at that joy for a second.
yeah.
So I think that goes down to the life motto is just like when I'm walking around in the world, I just like see people, like photos are memories, and I have a
Mm,
photographic memory, but I take a lot of pictures, and I don't have nearly enough pictures taken of me doing
mm-hmm.
doing things. And so I kind of just see that and I offer it. Or just I was with a friend in a store, and this gal, she was probably in her 70s or so, we were talking about meat, and and finally my friend's like, okay, Danny, I've got to go here. And we walk away. She's like, Danny, I've been coming here for years and no one's ever talked to me in the meat section. And I'm like, that is just how, it is. And I think when you put that energy out there, it comes
Mm,
back to you as well. So that's kind of how I live my life, is it's open and I want to make connections. And, you know,
that's
I also talk a lot. And now that I'm warmed up, you guys, I don't know
we,
if I can stop.
and now that we're warmed up, we're gonna wrap it up. But
Yeah.
like I said, I am so thankful and so happy that we were able to connect with you today. And that's what it is. Exactly what you said. It's about, making connections. It's about doing good. Do good, feel good, right? And hopefully the next time, when someone comes on our podcast, when we ask them, how are you doing? You will say, doing good,
Yeah.
So thank you again, Danielle. And I am so looking forward to November and giving you that big hug and
Yeah.
greeting you when you cross that electric finish line at Philadelphia Marathon. There's no other vibe than finishing the half at Philly. So again,
I'm
thank you so
excited.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I
Can't
really
wait.
appreciate everything. So
All right. Okay. Keep doing good.
thank you.
We Run With You is a nonprofit with a mission to improve the lives of people suffering from brain injury and disease by funding research, raising awareness, and providing support for survivors and their families. Find out more at werunwithyou.org. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a comment or review. Until next time, keep doing good.